coming. I know it's a precious time, weekend time, so you made all the way to come here. I appreciate that. Can you hear me? In the back? Yes? Okay. I try to make it a more rewarding experience to parents, because last time I, literally ignored the parents. So I spoke in English. So if anytime you need any explanation or, any rendering in Chinese, just let me know. Again, last time I tried to make a connection between the college's vision of the function of education in connection with what the country or the world needs. People who are committed to the better good of the society. People who are connected with environment, with community, with the well-being of our surroundings. Since, as I said, out of 100 students of equally excellent academic aptitude or qualifications, they are looking for someone who really cares for the country or for the world. That's what they are looking for. And your essay have to respond to that expectation. They are selecting actually, fewer than 10 students from 100 applicants. So actually I basically provided a overall view of the function or the purpose of higher education. And today I want to shift the perspective, from people up there to students and parents. I don't know whether the first part is, I don't have much time. It's over. It's already 2 o'clock, and I have basically 45 minutes. So if you think I can skip any part, let me know. The first would be the financial planning. The second would be academic planning. And the third part would be the quality control. It's basically about language. How you make sure that you express your ideas clearly and how you communicate effectively. You need to make connections. At the sentence level, you need connections. Between sentences, you need connections. Between paragraphs, you need connections. And the unity for the whole essay. So this is something intrinsic, within the organization of the essay or your writing. You need to make connections. Okay. So let me go on to the next page. Okay. I wish I could control the machine. I'm trying to divide it into 3 parts: financial, academic, and document preparation. And actually the most practical for you now is the third part, is the language. But the third part actually is something those students who took my class already know. But in fragments, because we have an in-depth look at how the language works. Within the sentences. And you need to make sure that this is something of an organic connection among various parts. Let's go to financial planning. I'll go quickly since we don't have much time. Let's move again. Financial planning.
高老师，我们给至少3点一刻吧。
Okay.
这样多一些时间。
we have some reprieve. Okay, scholarship and financial aid. There are scholarships out there, of course, but usually they are based on merits, your academic credential. When we talk about financial aid, usually it's based on need. The colleges look at the financial status of your family and then decide how much financial aid you are going to receive. Let's move on. Next. Let's have a view of the general costs of college. Let's move to the next. For those who understand, most of us can read English. This is tuition. It's not college cost. Tuition. You need to add at least, I think at least 20,000 to each tuition, because we are trying to include room and board, and of course expenditures related to books and supplies and everything. So usually if you go to the top 25 schools, of course not including Berkeley because that's a state university, maybe a little bit less, but their charge for the out-of-state students will be, substantial. This is the list. Let's move on. I think I listed about 20 schools in the U.S. News and World Report magazine. This is the 2014 to 15 college tuition. Add like 20,000 to the cost. So financial planning is essential, and you need to actually plan, financially, probably 2 or 3 years ahead, maybe if not even more. We all know that there's some document, financial document recommended by your accountants, like is the document called 529? That's useful because you put aside some money for your kids, and those money you don't have to pay tax. But the problem is when the college admission officers is examining your documents, your financial report, that money is something you can afford. They will consider that to be the money to be used for college. But parents' money, it depends. There are various factors. It depends on parents' age also. The older the parents are, the more considerate they will be in considering the amount of money, because you need to think of the retirement. So everything, should be considered in your financial planning. Let's go to the next step. So tuition plus student fees plus room and board plus other expenses. So it's about 60,000, if not more. Let's move on. And the first thing you need to do is, of course, on the first day of the year, the student is going to college in fall that year. Then we call it FAFSA. You have to fill out that form online. The earlier, probably, I shouldn't say that the earlier the better, because usually we fill out the deadline for the tax return will be April 15th. But if you are a freshman, then you probably are required to submit everything by March 15th, especially if you apply, the freshman people, students. And this is the something you have to do, FAFSA. More than 100 35 items last year. I don't know this year. A very complicated process. Let's move on. Yes, that's what I said. And for the students, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, the deadline will be May 1st. Can you read in the back for those? Is it clear? Legible? Okay. Let's move on. And they calculate, the financial aid based on this formula. College cost minus family contribution. So actually they are looking at everything in your financial reports, everything, in order to come up with the sum of family contribution. If the number of family contribution is larger than college cost, then you pay, for your college expenses. If not, then the government or the school will provide the financial aid. Let's move on. It's just a general view. And this is the family contribution, including the various factors: parents' income, value of real estates. If you have only one house, that's fine. It should not be considered. But it depends also on how much loan you have and the balance of the loan. The number of students, very important, the number of children, and especially the number of children attending college, because that sum can be divided, by the number of the children attending college. And also the parents' ages, students' income, the 592 belongs to students' assets. So it should be considered, the fund available for your children's education. Let's move on. Now, this is some kind of a hypothetical model. For instance, college cost would be $65,000, and your expected family contribution, $30,000. Yes, $30,000. The grant is something you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay back. Grant, is something the school would give to you, to the students, especially those elite schools. They will make everything possible, in their power to make sure that the student who has been admitted to college can afford the education. It's not a dream. It's a reality. This is not American dream, actually. It is already a reality that, so actually from this perspective, those students from less, advantaged economic background may benefit more from elite colleges, not necessarily from state universities, but from the top colleges, because they want their students, come from as diverse backgrounds and social classes as possible. Education should be available to people. And it's not just for social equitability, no, it's not. It's for students on the campus to be able to interact and expose to other people from different backgrounds, so they can understand the society better, and they can expose to different ideas associated with that specific social background. This is part of the education, diversity on the campus. And then you can also work in the school cafeteria. You can work in the library, work study. That's your wages. So this is basically the composition of the financial packet you are going to receive with the letter of acceptance. They will give you this packet. Although the numbers will vary, but basically that's what you receive. They will give you this format. So it depends on the size of the envelope. If it's just one thin envelope, that's probably rejection. If it's a thick packet, excuse me, a thick packet, then congratulations. You know, yeah. Let's move on. Current federal student loan rates, it's been decreasing year by year. Last year it's 4.66%. This year it's 4.29%. Just to make sure that the interest is paid by the federal government during the students' college years, but the interest begins to accrue, and monthly repayment of student loans starts 6 months after graduation. So let's move on. The advantage is very low interest rates. The disadvantage, you have to pay it someday. You have to pay. But we are talking about federal student loan. We are not talking about grants. Grants actually are free. You don't have to pay it all. Grants are provided by those colleges with a lot of assets. Like Harvard has, I think, 30 billion, the college assets. And here and Princeton both have 20 billion. So they have a lot of money to spend. Let's move on. And top schools, they have a policy. They don't consider the financial status of the students together with academic merits. No. The admission decision would be purely based on your academic or extracurricular activities or whatever. But they don't know your financial status. That's something to be considered after the admission decision are made by the financial aid office. So the two are very clearly divided. They are separate. Let's move on. Very good schools, they have replaced low-interest student loans with grants. They don't want students to graduate with financial burden in whatever form, no. And probably next page, Princeton was probably the first college that took the initiative to eliminate low-interest loans. Even international students. But the problem with international students is that it's so hard to verify the financial status. Very difficult. But they are committed, to providing the necessary financial aid to all students. Let's move on. That's financial. That's just a general view. We need to plan early. Just to make sure that we have a good financial plan. This is something also many of us are familiar with, the academic planning. Let's go to the next page. And this is something we all know. Regular courses, honors courses, AP, IB courses. There's a balance here, or dilemma. On the one hand, it's good, of course, to take, to maintain your GPA, is it? On the other hand, you should demonstrate your willingness or ability to take challenges. And for most of us, there's something else, extracurricular activities. You also need to develop, the range of your social activities, or community service, or talents. So how to maintain the balance is important. Let's move on. Your high school counselor will provide colleges with detailed information on the following items. All the courses available in your high school. It's in your high school, not other high school. This is your high school. And the difficulty index of each course. And then the number of students taking that course in your school. So compare to students in your school, not to students, don't compare with students of other schools. And the last one, the distribution of grades of that course. So for those students taking the same course at the same time as you, how many, get A or B or C? Let's move on. There's some background about AP. Sometimes we are not quite clear about the difference between AP programs or IB. This is some background information for you. And this is something, actually, the surprising thing is that the AP exams are held worldwide in 80 countries, not just the United States. And everything, of course, related to AP is handled or operated by College Board. College Board, actually, surprisingly, is a private institution. This is what happens in the college admission office. A college admission officer will recalculate your GPA in accordance with the information provided by your high school counselor. And the grades of AP or IB courses with high difficulty index will have a significant impact on your final GPA. They would recalculate and readjust your GPA just based on the difficulty level of the courses you take. Let's move on. And actually, nearly 4,000 colleges in more than 40 countries, including those top schools, accept AP credits and regard them as an important factor in making admission decisions. The difference between those top schools and state universities is that for the top schools, they recognize your AP credits, but they are not counted as college credits. You can take a higher level course. That's the only benefit you have. But for the state universities, the AP credits could be counted as college credits. That would shorten